Good afternoon, Keith Tebow, FRCMedia. Thank you for joining us again on this Wednesday afternoon. This week, Democrats across the country are meeting virtually at the Democratic National Convention. It was supposed to be held in person in Milwaukee to nominate Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as the president and vice presidential nominees for the party. As I said, that's been handled virtually this year. But we're pleased to be joined by one of the delegates in the Massachusetts delegation that is conventioning virtually. I'm pleased to be joined by State Senator Marc Pacheco from Taunton. Senator Pacheco, thank you for joining us. How are you? Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. I want to get right into some of the things that have been happening in terms of the convention, even though it's been happening virtually. Let me ask you, first of all, you have been a delegate to the National Convention in the past. How different is this experience been for you in terms of doing the same type of business you would in person, but doing it virtually?
Well, I think all the viewers can probably relate to it. There's a lot that you can do virtually, but it's certainly not the same as being there in person. And everybody, all the delegates that I've spoken with, and certainly the campaign, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, everyone, I'm sure, feels they would love to be there in person with everybody in the same room. And there is a different feeling you get out of that campaign and the convention when you're able to do that. But people are excited about this year's convention, even though it's being held virtually. I think last evening, for example, people at home and all of us as delegates were able to experience that virtual walk across America in all of the territories, throughout the world, and be able to get a sense about the excitement that is out there from different states in the United States of America.
During these conventions, when they're held in person, a lot of times, there's work being done behind the scenes. You've got, different committees on the platform and specific issues in terms of, how the party creates its message that it will send forth with its nominee. Are those types of meetings still happening virtually? And I guess, is the Massachusetts delegation as a whole still trying to meet from time to time during the week, even though, again, they're not in person?
Yeah, the Massachusetts delegation, you're absolutely correct. Every convention, all the states would have their delegation meetings every day and update on what is taking place, what is happening relative to the platform, what's going on relative to the balloting that we had the roll call done last evening virtually. And so we are meeting every morning. Those meetings run from 7 to 7:30 to 9 a.m., where we have special guests that come in and speak to the delegation. For example, this morning, we had former Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton speak to us about the importance of this election cycle. And she knows, as well as all the delegates know, that we can't take this for granted. Look what happened in her race in 2016, where she won the popular vote by nearly 3 million more votes than the present occupant of the White House. And yet she's not able to serve because it didn't meet the standard of the Electoral College. So the Massachusetts delegation, along with all the other delegates throughout the country, had voted, prior to, and we did that with our ballots, and not mail-in ballots, but electronically. And this is, for example, I don't think you can see it, but this is a copy.
Yeah.
Because I had a receipt copy of my ballot where I voted for Joe Biden, and I voted for the platform, and then I also voted for the rules of the convention. So all those votes had to be tabulated and put in before we actually convene the convention. So it would be all assembled and tabulated and ready for the announcement on the roll that took place last evening.
Let me ask you, Senator, normally when you're in these conventions in person, and you said you've been part of these conventions back into the early 90s with President Bill Clinton's first nomination, it's an opportunity not only to get to know some of your fellow Democrats across the country, but it's also an opportunity that I see it as a representative of Southeastern Massachusetts to talk to maybe a broader audience, maybe some of the national delegates about the needs of our region in Southeastern Massachusetts. Is that an important time to do that? And I guess how is that different this year in terms of getting out the needs of what we need in our little neck of Massachusetts?
Well, it's very different. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that is lost in the virtual world. We would have the opportunity to sit down and have dinner with people that you wouldn't be able to see all the time, from different states, different national leaders. And we have the opportunity to interact virtually, but not with the type of conversation we're having right now. And so that is, missing somewhat from, this convention. But we have had the opportunity. There are a number of different activities that are going on during the day. For example, today, as I get off with you, I'll be able to go on to several different options that I would have for caucuses that are taking place with delegates from throughout the country. A lot of the delegation, whether it's Attorney General Maura Healey or other leaders within our delegation. The mayor of Boston has been very active. Those of us that care very deeply about climate change and what is happening with offshore wind here in southeastern Massachusetts can connect with a lot of people that feel the same way. Where I've been part of the Biden Climate and Energy Council that has been put together as part of all of the work that the Biden campaign has been doing. And so I'm actually working with them on that. I'm also working in developing a group of Portuguese Americans for Biden, that we are working and developing that as part of the convening of the convention and working with others, nationally, to come up with ways in which we can help in a lot of the swing states, like Florida, in Pennsylvania, in South Carolina, just a lot of communities across the country where there are like-minded people and people that will come together to try to be helpful, whether it's with phone banks or virtual meetings, whether we Zoom in or use another platform to have a discussion and bring about outreach and engagement with citizens in other parts of the country. A lot of that discussion is going on during this convention virtually, and will continue after the convention virtually. We're doing a lot of work, for example, the Massachusetts delegation, working with Maine to try to take back that U.S. Senate seat to the Democratic Party. We're working also to make sure we get the votes on the ground to turn out for Joe Biden. There's a swing vote district there that has gone both Republican and Democrat. Certainly in a neighboring state of New Hampshire, it's very important for us to continue to be active And the virtual world actually does help us in a way in terms of how we can be active and engaged across the country. So there are people that can get on the phone and help out in Ohio, for example, or Michigan. So that is happening, and that engagement is going on. And we are doing that through the state parties and working together to try to get every single vote out that we can get out, to make sure that whether they're mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, whether people are early voting or voting in person on election day on November 3rd, we definitely want everybody out there.
You know, I know it's kind of too early to ask this question, but I'll ask it anyway. Is there a possibility that there may be conventions in the future that may be a little more virtual than we have now? Maybe not fully virtual, but maybe a hybrid of both going forward? Because there have been some people that have said that, especially those voters who may be watching from home, saying that, over the first 2 days at least, it's been a very efficient product. It's moved along. But obviously, as you said earlier, it's definitely a plus to be able to meet in person. So do you think there's an opportunity to keep this in some way, shape, or form going forward?
I think there will be a component of it going forward, even in convention halls, where the convention attendees, the delegates, even if you're in a convention hall, I think you'll see some virtual products that will come into the convention hall, which certainly has happened in the past, because there's one thing that you can convey through video. As any of the viewers that have not watched the video that ran last night, the brief documentary that was put together with the relationship between Joe Biden and John McCain. It was a very moving and powerful documentary about the character of Joe Biden and John McCain, even though they did not agree on every single issue. They had ideological differences, but that connection, that strong connection, and that bond that was there said so much about Joe Biden and the decency and the character of the man. It came across in a very emotional way. I think the virtual roll call that was done, and you could see the gentleman that had, the virtual connection with a gentleman that had ALS, for example,
right,
and the connection and the impact about how healthcare, or the lack thereof, has an impact on families in America, and what that means to all of us. One day goes by and all of a sudden somebody has a pre-existing condition and they've got a bill they can't pay because pre-existing condition coverage has been taken away. That's what's on the ballot this year.
Yeah.
Whether or not we're going to have offshore wind in the Northeast, and whether the federal government, Department of Interior, will allow us to continue going forward, because they've been problematic so far. The jobs that are in the balance here, that's on the ballot this year on November 3rd. So all of those things come home, and people get to understand them a lot more when you have it put together in a video presentation, where you can actually get to feel the emotion of those that are involved with this. The young woman that testified to all of us in the world about the two Americas, one in which Donald Trump has denied the impact that's going on with COVID-19, and the America where her father died because he believed all of the rhetoric coming out of the White House on this. Very powerful, very emotional connection that comes across via the virtual telecommunications that we're all experiencing right now.
Yeah. Senator Marc Pacheco, I appreciate your time in terms of giving us sort of an inside look on how the Democratic National Convention is taking place this year. Thank you again. All the best, and hopefully we'll talk again soon. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity. And
All right, thank you.
I would say, please have everybody come out and vote.
There you go. All right, Senator. Thank you very much. And I want to thank you for joining us today here on FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great rest of your day.